Wilson, and welcome to tonight's live Path to Profit webinar. Welcome aboard to all the new folks, particularly, and all the veterans, all of you who are in either the rental profits program or the flipping program, or the wholesaling program. In fact, funny I mentioned that, or the investor agent program. Some of you, I think, all of the property management program participants have they're now graduated, and we haven't rolled that out. We'll probably do that again in like March, for example. But in any case, welcome aboard to all of you. You'll notice by default you're in mute mode. Okay, and of course that's by design because with hundreds of registrants, there's no way we can have everybody live audio. So you can use the question box to type in your questions. All right, from time to time we may unmute you. Now, a couple of things. Always remember that the day after a webinar, Beverly sends out the recording of the webinar. Okay, and you don't just get the recording; she also gives you, updates to the systems, updates to the platforms, the content, and also the upcoming webinar schedule. We just set the webinar dates for the entire month of January. Also, on Time Trade, I put time slots out there for strategy calls all the way through the end of January, the entire month of January. There's a few dates I've got to fill in yet. I'm just waiting on some information on flights and start times for different class dates in January. We'll be on East Coast time in January. In fact, I'll be in Florida. Okay. In any case, I'm back in Ontario right now. I just finished up a 2-week run of classes in the San Francisco Bay Area. It was awesome. Went to Yosemite the weekend in between. Got to stay at Monterey for 2 days and Santa Cruz for a couple days, and pretty much stayed in downtown San Francisco for a couple days. Had a lot of fun there. So in any case, welcome aboard to all of you. If you do have questions, go ahead and type those in. We'll cover any general questions now before we get into the content. That way we can kind of clear the slate, so to speak. Everybody says they can see the screen and hear my voice. That's good news. Let's see. Wendy, yeah. So Wendy, what you should be seeing on your screen, this says large apartment complexes. That's what you should be seeing. Okay. Daryl's asking, can I use this calculator for units greater than 10? Yeah. So Daryl, this calculator we're going to go over tonight, there's no limit to how many units, how large of a size of a property you can put in there. It is designed for residential. However, it will work absolutely even for non-residential properties if it has multi-units, whether it's retail, storage, office, whatever the case may be. You can use this calculator we're going to go over tonight. So, by the way, the one we went over the week before, Daryl, is a really good version. If you weren't on the one 2 weeks ago, you should definitely get that recording and practice using that rental property reporter. That's an awesome calculator. Okay. Let's see. This is Michelle. Hey, Michelle. Michelle's asking. Okay. Michelle from Fresno. Might to make the high school. Excuse me. Let me start back here. I am to make the high school zip code activity report for active and sold. Where do I find this info? Yeah, so Michelle, that report, that has to be created in-house, in the office, okay? It's a basic Excel spreadsheet. You should have that. I believe I sent that in over the weekend after I was there, so or during the week sometime. That was on a Monday. And what the data comes from your MLS system. Now remember, that's not the end-all be-all. That's just the beginning, okay? Once you have the school report created using MLS data, then the next step is to use what we call Melissa data to get data at a finer level of detail. First zip code level, and then within the zip codes you have the neighborhood level, okay? And that data actually comes from your tax assessor's database, okay? And it's the same report. We use it the same way everywhere. The difference is up in Canada, we use the postal code or sometimes the section field, things like that on the school report. It's just a different setup up there. In any case, right where you are in California, I recommend, being that you're in Fresno, I recommend make the column headings the high school area, okay, and not the school district. School district won't give you a big enough report, but if you use the high schools or even junior highs or elementary schools, you'll get a pretty good snapshot of your area, okay? But again, that has to be built in-house. We recommend the receptionist build it, because if every agent built their own report, you'd all get the same exact report, or same exact results, excuse me. In other words, might as well just have one person build it, put it on a common site, okay, because and share it with all the investors online here. Well, you share that with them, they're going to know exactly where they should be investing, okay? Let's see, some of you are saying, there's two of you are saying you're seeing, you're not seeing hang on one second. You're seeing it's not, it's just like you're not completely in the session yet. But the funny thing is all but two of you are seeing my screen. So hang on one second here. Yeah, John, you're one of them. So John, you should be seeing something that says large apartment complexes right across the top, okay? And we are broadcasting. Everything's broadcasting. Hang on one second. Let me reduce that just to make sure everything is good audio, visual. It says everything's okay. But let me just check the question box here. Let's see. Michelle says she's trying to make the report. You know what? I'm not. Turns out more of you are saying you're not able to see my screen. Let's do this. Let me switch to this. I'm going to switch to the Excel spreadsheet. Now, let me know if you can see the Excel spreadsheet. It's got different colors. It says Opportunity Evaluator. Okay. So I'm going to look for responses to that. Hang on one second. Okay. Okay, now some of you are seeing this and some of you have no idea what's going on here. Okay, let's see. Screen sharing, show my screen. Resume. People can see Paul's version of your screen. Click to resume screen sharing. Okay, now, all right, guys, let me know if now you can see my screen. Let me go back to the question box. And see if that helped. Okay, yes. Okay, we're getting some yeses and okays. Okay, wonderful. Well, that's good news. Okay, thanks, guys, for your patience. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to where I was. I want to go through this example, okay? And then we'll bring up the blank version here, go back to this, we'll plug in some numbers and do some what-if scenarios, okay? Let's go back here. So large apartment complexes. By the way, I just want to preface this, guys. If you think this is like way beyond your field of vision, you know, entertaining the thought of a 78-unit apartment complex, don't be intimidated. This is intended to stretch your risk threshold. Even if you're just dealing with duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, that's okay. I simply want to show you what's possible. And the reason is you're going to grow. Okay, you're going to grow with your clients. And this is one of the tools that's going to impress them, allow you to grow with them, okay? And I want to constantly expand what we call your field of vision. Everybody goes through it, including me. When I first started off, my first property was a half of a house. I don't mean like a half of a duplex. I mean half of a house. I bought it with my college roommate Socrates. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom ranch in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Turns out that's what started me on this whole career. I've been doing it for the last 30. My gosh, would it be this January, 2018? It'll be 32 years. 32 years. Okay. So in any case, I didn't get this property until about 2008, nearly 10 years ago. Okay. And I was already investing for 10 years before I got it. I mean, when I say investing for 10 years, I mean like aggressively only investing. That's what I was doing full time. I had been investing prior to that for quite a while, a little more than 10 years, altogether 30 some odd years, but I was still working a regular job. Okay, so I was working a regular job, acquiring small rentals and some flips and things like that. Finally decided I'd had enough of the corporate world, took the leap, and the rest is history. And I will tell you this, all these sayings that you hear throughout life, most of them are true, and you'll see them. You'll become aware of them. Okay, when you actually do take action. So in other words, this whole thing about leaping from one side of the creek to the other with nothing in between to support you, and the creek bed that you just left falls away. That is exactly what you have to do to succeed. Okay, I mean, in other words, there's an old saying of football: you can't play the game of football by playing not to lose. Okay, number one, that's how you get hurt. But number two is that's not playing to win. It's a completely different strategy. Playing to win means you play every second full out, even if you're ahead to the last minute, you still play. Okay, you play every second of the game. It's the same thing in life, same thing in investing, same thing in brokerage. You play to win. You do not play not to lose. Okay, I'm not suggesting be foolish, okay, or hasty or make uneducated decisions. The way you reduce risk is by doing this, by learning, by training, by getting information. Okay, so in any case, enough said. I just want to make sure you guys understand there is a purpose for me doing this tonight. And a lot of you, by the time we're done, you're going to feel a whole lot better. So in any case, bottom line is this. This was a while ago, and a market that's the different market now than it was back then, but everything's relative. I paid about $1 million for this building. It was a 78 unit apartment complex. Oops, excuse me. Sorry, I'm jumping around here. Let me go back to the beginning. I've got to reduce I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way. Let me go back to the story. I just want to show you some of the background on the property, okay? And I'm getting closer, sitting on your seats. Here it is, 78-unit apartment complex with 30 units, all right? Paid about $1 million for it. I'm going to show you the Excel spreadsheet that goes with the property, okay? Back then, we were getting rents that were below market value. See, some of these numbers look low, even for some of you in some of your markets. For example, I just taught a class in Flint, Michigan, and these would probably be the same kind of rents you might be seeing there right now. But I also just taught classes in the Bay Area, and there's nothing you can rent for these prices. Okay, same thing in Toronto and Boston. But remember, everything is relative. Okay. So in any case, we'll get to the spreadsheet here in a second. I just want to go through a little more details here. The building right now, if it was to sell for $2.3 million, which is what it would sell for, what it should sell for, if somebody put down, say 20%, all right, or 25%, so let's just say $525,000, they'd have a loan for $1.725 million, okay, which is about a $29,000 per unit price. Okay, now you're going to see when we do the calculator something called debt coverage ratio, something called the cap rate. We'll go over all those. Just know this: if they were to finance that property the way it is described up here, all right, you'd have about cash flow after debt service of $150,000, or you'd have cash flow of $117,000, which gives you 11.6% cap rate. I'm going to go over all this. I just want to give you the background here. Debt coverage ratio is 1.795, which is well above what banks look for. What that is debt coverage ratio is the amount of money that banks are looking at to see what you have left at the end of the month after other expenses, non-debt expenses, to be able to pay the mortgage payment. Okay, in a booming economy, they lower the debt coverage ratio. I've seen it go as low as 1.2%. they're generally looking for debt coverage ratio to be between 1.6 and 1.8, because they're conservative. And that's, and anyway, when you play that way, use cash. All right. When it comes to the financing end of things, you're going to be okay. All right. At least from the bank's perspective, the banks are generally more conservative than we are. Believe me, I used to be a banker years ago. Okay. So in any case, let's look at the Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to reduce this. Make sure you're getting the full shebang here. So hang on one second. Let me bring this, expand this a little bit more. Okay, now that should be much better. All right, first things first. You don't have to worry about the yellow box. This yellow box just describes the property, okay? Here's where we start to get into some financials. Now, we're going to assume a purchase price of $2.3 million, all right? A mortgage of $1.725 million, which means we're going to put in an initial investment of $575,000, okay? And by the way, all the math is done for you. You just plug in your numbers, and all the calculations are done for you. You don't have to be a math wizard. You don't have to know any math at all, actually, to use this calculator. All right. Now, initial loan, I'm going to assume a 6% interest rate. Again, I'm going to go with this really being conservative from the purchaser's perspective. 20-year amortization, 20-year term. What that means is, instead of like your usual 30-year mortgage, this is we're assuming a 20-year mortgage because it's commercial, and the term and the amortization are going to match. In other words, if you look at an amortization schedule of any loan, if it is greater than the term, you generally have what's called a repricing period. Big commercial loans are repriced every 5 years, typically. You can lock it in for 10. You can lock it in for much longer if you want, but you got to pay more for that. Basically, a higher interest rate, typically. Okay. So in any case, these are assumptions we're making, right? Now we have different types of units. We have efficiencies, 1-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, 3-bedroom apartments, and garages. Okay, there's garages in here too that I don't think are accounted for here. We're going to assume these rents. Okay, 400, 500, 600. Right, that's what we're going to assume. These are low. Okay, again, I'm trying to be conservative here, but if you can see, if the property was fully rented, it'd bring in $466,000 a year, almost $467,000 in gross receipts. Okay, now that takes us down here. Again, all this math is done for you. You just plug in rents per unit, how many units for the different types of units. Okay, add up the rows. Bottom line is that's your gross receipts. Plug that in down here. Again, this is an editable field. We're going to assume a 5% vacancy and basically lost rents, people not paying the rent. It actually has been lower than that, like an average of about 2 to 3%. But again, we're going to be conservative on this first go around here, okay, just to show you what's possible. So in other words, if we subtract vacancy from gross receipts, our net effective income is $443, all right? Now, other income could be income from like renting storage spaces or laundry, okay? Now, people always ask, and my general rule of thumb is this. Number one is I always try to provide storage. It's easy money. You just take, if you're in even a small fourplex, frame out some of your basement to be storage units and rent them out separately from the residential unit. Okay, just do it. Just believe me, just do it. You can have a great place if it's been fixed up nicely. Rent it out for a good rate. Don't overcharge. Make sure you're charging market rates, but add storage in there, because believe it or not, a lot of other places do not offer storage on the smaller properties. Okay. Another thing, number two, is this: anytime you get 5 or more units, you definitely want to provide laundry in the facilities. Okay. On-site laundry, washer, dryers, that type of thing. Usually 5 and above, it'll pay for itself. 4 below, oftentimes you might break even. It'll pay your water bill, which is not a bad deal. Okay, get your water bill paid. In any case, your gross receipts now are $480. All right. So let's just scroll down here and look at some expenses. By the way, you're also going to see on a percentage basis what these fields amount to based on dollars per square foot and dollars per unit, right? So in other words, we're getting about $6,000 per unit on these rents. That's the average. In any case, we got taxes to pay. Let's assume we got $30,000 in taxes to pay on this building, okay? It'd be $60,000. Let's see, that would be about a 3% property tax rate, which isn't too bad. We have property insurance, okay? We've got management fee, and management fee is probably about 5%. And by the way, the more units you have per property, generally the lower their percentages of the management fee, okay? The reason is it's easier to manage a 78-unit apartment complex than it is to manage 78 individual single-family homes, okay? It's just less labor intensive. In any case, we also have maintenance and repairs. Some of these things I am leaving blank on purpose, okay, because the building itself is not going to have payroll. We're assuming property management here is what we're assuming. That's why. Okay, and also we're not going to pay personal property taxes out of this, right? We're just going to pay basic real estate taxes. In any case, maintenance and repairs. We'll assume 33 grand, okay, which is about, in this example, 7% of your gross operating income. See GOI up here, gross operating income, which is your gross income without factoring in your mortgage payments, okay? So in any case, maintenance and repairs, gas, electric, water, sewage, okay? Put all these in here. You can see the amount per unit and also the percentage of gross operating income, all right? So in any case, let's go down and see what other expenses we have here. By the way, the reason I really like this Excel spreadsheet is it's pretty thorough. Gives you a really good snapshot. This is a snapshot calculator, unlike the rental property reporter that we went over 2 weeks ago. It's a projection calculator. Okay, this is a snapshot. That other one's a projection. And both of them, you can change all the figures and do some what-if scenarios, no doubt about it. Okay, in any case, we're going to skip licensing and permits, supplies, advertising. We're going to assume landscaping and snow removal. All right. And by the way, believe it or not, when I bought this property, you may find this hard to believe. My property taxes on this property actually paid for trash service. I didn't have to pay for it. Can you imagine that? Try to find that anywhere in North America right now. Okay. So in any case, very little we spent on advertising. We used some really neat referral programs. We rewarded our best tenants by bringing in other really good tenants. Okay. And as a result, we didn't have to spend a lot on advertising. In any case, you can see expenses right now are equaling $214,000, a little bit more, $214,697. In other words, that is as a percentage of gross operating income, we're spending about 45% on expenses. Now that may seem high to some of you. Okay, some of you won't have snow removal, for example, right? But the reality is, you know, I guarantee you, and I've had a lot of properties over a lot of years, you might be able to find properties where your operating expenses on a large complex like this are less than 25%. I've never seen it myself. Maybe a brand new complex that's just been built. But the reality is you look at real honest to goodness tax records, okay, and you'll find people spending upwards of 50% of their gross income on expenses, non-debt expenses, okay? Which leads me to an important concept. I generally would always keep my financing to be about my monthly mortgage payment, in other words, principal and interest, to be about a third of gross receipts. Because if I knew I was going to be spending 45-50% on everything else, that would leave me somewhere between 10 and 20% of actual net profit cash in my pocket. Okay, and that's not a bad day at the office. In any case, you can see gross expenses here. Subtract it from your gross income, gives you a net operating income of $266,000. That's money you have left over after all your expenses to be able to pay your mortgage payment. Okay, to pay debt, whatever you borrowed to get into the property. You can see at the end of the day, you actually put in your pocket nearly $10,000 a month, or almost $120,000 in the year. All right, not a bad day at the office. You can see debt coverage ratio, just about 1.8%. That means I was in good shape from the lender's perspective. I'd have enough. In other words, I'd have enough income coming in to be substantially more than my debt obligation. Okay. Cap rate 11.6%. Okay. Now there is a what if over here. You can see what if scenario. What if you sold it? What if cap rate was 10%? What if you sold at a cap rate at 8% versus 11.6%? Well, that means the building should be selling for $3.3 million. Okay. And cash out pre-tax. In other words, if you did sell for 3.326, you've got what was the loan amount? 1.8 million, something like that. You'd have 1.6 million in your pocket. The reason this is important is, believe it or not, one of the strategies, guys, that really works well, and you want to write this down, is to flip rental properties. Okay. It may take you a couple of years to flip them. The bigger the property, the longer it's going to take. But believe it or not, if you study what the REITs do, a REIT is REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust, you'll see a lot of them don't have very long-term holds. They might hold it just long enough, 1, 2, 3 years, to increase the rents, which increases the value of the property. Okay, because large multi-unit properties, income-producing properties, are always appraised using what we call the income approach to valuation. All right, that's what they're using, and that's based squarely on what's coming into the property and versus what's going out. In any case, pretty good snapshot of that property. Let me bring the panel over here real quick and look for questions before we dig into a live version. All right, so hang on to your seats while I go through the questions. I'm going to have to kind of go backwards. Let's see. Okay, okay. Gross operating income versus net operating income. Paul says he got it. Okay, thanks, Paul. How is vacancy calculated? So Myrna, vacancy, we look at an area. When we buy a big property, we look at the prevailing vacancy rates for the area, and that's what we plug in over here. Let me go back over here. Whoops. Holy mackerel, that thing jumped out of that program altogether. So let me go down here, back to vacancy rate. Sorry, I'm going to go back to the material. So we picked, Myrna, a vacancy rate of 5%. This is going back probably 10 years ago. The fact is vacancy rates are half of that in most places of U.S. and Canada. You go to a place like Toronto, my gosh, there's still not enough housing inventory in Toronto. It's a crazy market. Same thing around San Francisco, Boston. In most parts of North America, we really do need more housing. As a result, vacancy rates are lower. So you can find that, Myrna, by simply Googling it for your area. There's always a property management association for your area. Sometimes it's called an apartment association. And they will publish these figures, okay? So actually NAR publishes them too. For all of you who are investors on here, you may not be a member of NAR, but they still make a lot available to you. Okay. Let's see. Myrna's asking, okay, can I break it? Are all boxes open for input, or are they blocked? I don't want to mess up the formula. Yeah, this actually is it's copyright protected, and it's also encrypted, Myrna. So you can't mess with the formulas. Good news. So you'll know what fields are editable because they're going to tell you, right? They're going to be highlighted fields. In other words, this field right here, 466980, is not an editable field. That field is populated by the data over here, the total return. Okay. You'll notice the vacancy rate is highlighted in yellow. That is an editable field. Okay. So the colored areas, looks like some type of teal. Don't laugh, guys. I don't know if I know my colors. Maybe this was Caribbean blue or something. How about that? I don't even know what you call this, but these they're not plain black and white fields. Plain black and white fields are not editable. The ones that have some color are editable fields, and those, so you can edit those. But you cannot mess up these. You couldn't edit this formula if you wanted to. So in any case, let me go back up and look for more questions. I think that was it on the current questions. Let's see. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any from the beginning, guys. So hang on one second. Let me make sure. There were some early on some statements or fields filled in. I just want to make sure. I know we went over the school report question. Okay, I think that is it. All right, so let's do this. What I want to do now is go to a blank version of this, and we're gonna plug in our own values and get some more realistic current day fields in there, just to show you what's possible out there in the world. And the reason I bring this up is a lot of you are simply investing in your own area where you're living, or you're working with investors in an area. I know it sounds logical and rational, and it is. I would never debate that, because when I first started investing, that's what I did. But over time, what I learned was you can invest anywhere. Okay. In fact, the people I work with in my mastermind group, Go Abundance, we really don't. We'll look for the good markets based on our strategies, and turns out that we've invested all over the place. Okay, California to Maine, Montreal to Miami, and everywhere in between. Okay, so any case, let me go back in there. I think I've got through all the questions. We're going to switch over, but just know this, just to wrap up the thought process I had there. When you start going through all of this material, okay, and you start working with investors who are investing in different locations, you'll find out that it's really not anything to be fearful of. You want to be careful. In other words, you want to operate from education and from information. You want to reduce risk by education information, but if you have an investor who's investing in Atlanta and you're from California or Boston, Massachusetts, you can find investor agents in Atlanta, people we've taught to work with investors, which means your client's going to be well taken care of, and you're going to be more highly assured of earning a referral fee. All right. Some of your investors, like Billy Maloney's on here, he lives out in just north of LA, kind of near where I was a month or two ago, not too far from Malibu, and he invests in Florida and Ohio. Okay, now it doesn't mean that it's easy. We never said anything was easy. It's simple once you learn it, but you do have to apply what you learn. Okay. So in any case, let me go back to, there's a question that popped in here. Let's see. Bill Moreau. Hey, Bill, where can I obtain this opportunity evaluator spreadsheet? So, Bill, if you go to myinvestmentservices.com, click on members area. Okay, it's up at the top there, probably 3/4 of the way to the right across the top banner. Click on members area. The next screen, you're going to log into the silver level membership area, which is what you are, silver level. Once you're in there, you'll see a panel on the left that gives you a bunch of options. Scroll down to where it says marketing tools and information on finding people and properties. Okay, click on that, and in there is the Excel spreadsheet. You can You can download it. It's yours to keep forever. It may even be delivered to you through digital chalk. I don't know that for a fact, but definitely I do know that if you go to the silver level membership area, here, let me just go do that. Okay, so let's go to myinvestmentservices.com. Okay, so I'm going to click on members area. Click to log into silver. We'll do that. Enter the silver level, and here we go. So if I go down here, marketing techniques and docs, I'm pretty sure it's in there. So let me go down here, scroll down. Let's see, is it in here? Investor booklet, mailer, tax strategies, rental profits after paying, tax strategies, financing for increase. Okay, maybe it's down below that. Hang on one second. I gotta scroll down here. Whoops. Why isn't that letting me go? Maybe I gotta go over here. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, right here. Important free resources to gather data on people and places. Okay, let's click on that. Oop, oh, that's not it. Sorry. Hang on one second. Let me go back. There's another section down here, and I'm just not able to scroll to it. In any case, Bill. So let me go back here to where I was. This calculator, and I want to spend some time playing around with this. All right, so that we have everybody's feels good about this calculator. Okay, so hang on one second. Let me just make sure. All right, good. So let's do this. I'm going to go here, scroll up a little bit. Okay, and we're going to plug in. Oops, I went too far. Oh, hang on, guys. Let me bring my panel over here. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to assume, let's just assume the same price, 2.3 million. Okay. Now this time I'm going to assume that I'm going to have a mortgage. Let's keep it the same. What was it? 1.795 million. Okay. Payments per year, 12. Interest rate, let's make that something more current, like 4.5. Let's keep the amortization to 20 years and the term to 20 years. Okay. Which means our down payment, is that right? 505,000. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Let's make this 1.55 because I want to put a little more down payment down there. 1,755,000. Yeah, let's do that. All right. So you can see our periodic payments, $11,000. All right, not such a bad deal. Now let's go down here into the units. Let's make this a little more appealing. I don't want to make it too crazy. Let's just say this is 600, okay, 700, all right, 800, and 900, all right. Oops, I'm sorry, I put those in the wrong field. 600, 700, 800. This is the number. This is the amount of rent per month. I think there was one 3-bedroom. I can't remember. Let's just say 19 of these. I better go back and look. Let's say 21 of these. That's 40. Okay, so that's whoops, that didn't work out. Delete that. Go over here, delete that. So it's 41 units. We said 78. That's going to leave 37. Is that right? I think those numbers are slightly off. Let's go back to the original, see what that said. 1741, 19.1. 1741, 19.1. Okay. 1741, 19.1. 78 units, and there we go. Okay, now look at the gross rents, $660,000 per year. Okay, so let's plug in a more current vacancy rate. Let's just say it's 3%. Okay, that's going to calculate the dollars we're going to lose in vacancies. Other income minus other income affected by vacancy, we'll leave that blank. Other income, we'll call that storage. We always made that separate. Let's just make that 40 grand. Actually, let's just make it 30. Okay, 30 garages, $100 a piece a month. All right, and see what we get here. 670 for gross receipts. Now let's go back down here. I think taxes are going to go up. So let's make that, let's see, 1 million would be at 4%, 40,000. Let's make that 70,000. Okay. And believe it or not, that's not hard to do in most places around North America. Okay. Property insurance. Let's make that now 21,000. We use A or basic form. That's why we're able to do that. Okay. One night we'll spend time talking about insurance management. Let's say that's so 670, 67. Let's make that 5%, 30. Let's call it 35,000. Okay. I'm going to bring my panel back over for just a second. Make sure we're okay here. All right. Payroll, we're not going to put anything in there. Repairs and maintenance. Let's say that's 35. Let's say that's 35,000. Oops. I go back to the right screen here. Here we go. 35,000. All right. All right. Gas. Let's make that 70,000. Okay. Electric. 35,000. And by the way, electric in a big apartment complex, you're going to have outdoor lighting. You're going to have common area lighting. You're going to have all kinds of systems, security systems, smoke, and fire systems, telephone systems. Also laundry. Everything's going to use electricity, okay? And it could add up to a lot of money. Just know that. All right, so let's make this water bill. Let's make that 70,000. Okay, sewer, make that say 35,000. Let's just go down here a little bit. Hang on one second. Make sure I get some other fields in here. All right, accounting, legal, licensing, permits, advertising. Let's make that 7,000. Okay, lawn care. Let's just use landscaping and snow removal. 7,000 each. Okay. Now you can see I raised the rents, also raised the expenses. All right. Let's see what we get here at the end of the day. So we got now nearly 400,000 in expenses. So we got about $7,000 coming in, 700,000 coming in, about 400,000 going out. It's actually the net difference is 278. That's our net operating income. Income minus known expenses, not including debt. Now we throw into debt, and we have an annual cash in our pocket return of 12,000 per month, or 144 for the year. You can see we're good on a cap rate, good on a debt coverage ratio. If we sold it at 10% cap rate, we would sell it for 2.782, right, and put $1 million in our pocket. Now let me go up to questions here, guys, before we continue. I just want to make sure we get through this so everybody feels comfortable. Let's see. How do you obtain the actual expenses of percentage recommended operating expenses? So Myrna, I gave the example of vacancy rate earlier because that was a question, but the reality is all these other figures, maintenance, repairs, taxes, insurance, everything should be validated and verified. And the way you do that is you always ask for your last 3 years of what we call Schedule E on the property. That's part of a person's tax return. Okay, and if they balk at that, I would question buying that property, because anybody who owns properties has to file their tax returns. We don't want their whole tax return. We just want to know what they filed relative to this specific property. Typically, it's called Schedule E. Okay. You also want to ask for 3 years of that information. You also want to ask for 3 years of what we call P&L, profit and loss. Okay, that comes right from their accounting system, showing you the numbers behind the scenes that resulted in their tax return. Okay, all the little details, everything. In other words, we want the detail. We want to see every check that was written or every expense that was paid at the item level. We also want to see every single rent that came in, okay, at the item level, rent per unit per month. Now, the other thing you want to see is what we call the rent rolls. You want to see that for the last 3 years. Now, rent rolls is going to show you unit by unit, month by month, what money came in on that unit and when it actually came in during the month. And what this shows you is a real big giant picture of the property where you see gaps and rents. In other words, if you see certain units with large chunks of space, time where the property was that unit was not rented, maybe because that unit needs to be upgraded. Okay, and you might want to say, I'm going to go back and look at that unit and take pictures and see what it would take to bring that unit up to more current standards. Okay. Also, you want to see is if you have a lot of late payers. I mean, if you're buying a property, a building where everybody's paying all over the month, the middle of the month, the end of the month, that could be a huge management headache for anybody buying the property. Now, having said that, I will tell you, I have bought properties like that on purpose. And the reason is if I like the property, the physical property itself, and I like the area, okay, it just may be that the prior owner hired the wrong manager. Believe me, there's a lot of property management companies out there, and they're not all good, okay? So you have to learn how to manage a manager. That's a different subject for a different day. In fact, we'll talk more about management more around the February, possibly March timeframe, okay? Very important subject for everybody here. In any case, so back to this. Rent roll, profit and loss for 3 years, Schedule E on tax returns. Another thing, Myrna, you want to look for is any outstanding contract on the property. Contract for pest control, contract for security systems, contract for phone systems, for cable systems, for laundry, for lawn care, anything that can be contracted out to a vendor in support of the building. You should ask to see all those contracts. That's part of your due diligence. So in any case, the original question was how do you get to all these figures? Well, the answer is when you submit an offer to a property, you ask for all of those figures in original format, and you have to go through due diligence and actually audit or validate that. Okay. And what will happen is you're looking at really the balance sheet, which, by the way, you want to look at the balance sheet too for the property, and you can read the story. You can see, okay, what are the, you can call them problems, you can call them opportunities, you can call them challenges. The fact is that's where you're going to see the opportunity to create more profit once you own the property. So if you find out you've got way too many evictions, too many people are paying rent late, just know this: you can definitely improve the situation, but it is a management intensive process. It'll take you some time, because in the meantime, you're trying to get you good, better paying tenants in there while you still have some older bad tenants. And you could have a little bit of a struggle on your hands, because who's going to influence more the most? Well, hopefully the good guys will influence the bad guys more, but you can't always count on that. Some days the bear gets you, some days you get the bear. But it is a management intensive process. I can tell you, with this particular building, that's exactly what we did. That's why we bought it. It was an opportunity to improve management and also improve the rents. In fact, I'll just tell you, this building here, we raised the rents across the board on every single unit during the life of ownership by an average of $200. Okay, that's hard to do, and we did lose one or two tenants, but quite frankly, most of them stayed because they saw what we were doing. We were making dramatic improvements, not just to the building, but to the tenant base, improving the whole reputation of the place. And it took a couple of years, but boy, was it worth it. Okay, so excellent question. I appreciate you asking that question. Okay, let me go down to more questions here. Daryl, why is debt always last? So Daryl, a couple of things on this. There's sort of a widely held assumption that everybody who buys properties are always using mortgage payments to buy them, and that's not always the case. For right now, for me currently, I'm on a cash basis. I have no mortgages. So what happens is, when you're analyzing a property and you're calculating what's called the cap rate, okay, you can't assume that everybody's using debt to buy a property. So what the assumption you make is everybody's paying cash. Okay, and then you add in the debt service later on if that's the case. And also the fact is that the lenders look at that too. They want to see, how does a property perform without debt? And then you add in the debt, and it says, okay, then let's see how it performs. All right, and so that's why it comes in last, because a lot of people are not buying properties they're not going into it with a mortgage. They may get a mortgage later on the property. In fact, that's kind of what I do now. So I'll get a property now, and I'll later on go put debt on it. Once I've got it up and running to the level I want and improved, I'll put a new mortgage on it, but not an 80% mortgage. I might put a 50% loan to value mortgage, something really low and manageable, easy to get loan approvals. You get lower interest rates, better terms on those kind of loans. But in order to do that, you got to go in and clean the place up. It could be clean up management. It could be clean up the physical property itself. It could be in other things. It could be the debt was all completely structured incorrectly, and that's your opportunity to improve the property. But the bottom line is, so Daryl, we don't account for debt until the end, because we want to see how the property performs without it before we even decide if we're going to buy it with or without a loan. And also the banks do the same thing. So that's really why. Okay, Myrna, is this based on actual or estimate by percentage? These are pretty accurate figures, Myrna. These are pretty good figures. Let's see, Myrna. Okay, if I understand correctly, it's for calculating actual purchase, not forecasting. Exactly, Myrna. Yeah. So this one is doing a snapshot in time. But what if you can do what if scenarios, but it's a snapshot. Like if these figures were entered today, is this how this building would perform today? If you're doing a projection, you would use the other calculator that we went over 2 weeks ago, the rental property evaluator. Rental property reporter. Okay. All right, let's see here. Most agents in Fresno are not willing to provide financial info for publication for the purpose of marketing. I will email you instead. Thank you. Yeah, that's okay. So, Myrna, one of the features in some of the newer MLS systems is this data can be provided via an attachment, and I'm okay with that. But I will tell you what's interesting is they're actually making a marketing mistake. If you look at any of my old listings, you'll see I got all the. I didn't want even to take it. I didn't want to take a listing unless I had all the financial data, because I sure wasn't going to waste my time, right, with somebody who's trying to fool somebody, and most importantly fool me. But also, I wanted to know what the property was really worth. So when I market it, I know I can stand behind it. I've got the data to stand behind it. And quite frankly, what it did is, here's the best part, and you should tell your colleagues this, it's going to save them a ton of time. So instead of them fielding all these calls for people that have no business looking at these properties, now they'll only get calls from people who see the data and know that it's sort of like a pre-screening process. Only the ones who know they can take on this type of a project will call. It makes your life as a listing agent way, way easier. And it just runs counterintuitive to what most people have been doing. It's just the strangest thing. They think they're trying to be, they're smart. They're like, well, I'm going to be in control. Everybody's going to have to call me. Well, guess what? You're going to get, a lot of calls are not going to be worth your time. Why not have the callers be people where it actually does make sense for them and for you? Far more efficient way to do business. Okay. In any case, enough said. That's my philosophy, and I used to do the old way, and I switched to the new way back many years ago. It made my life a whole lot easier. Okay. Also improved my reputation dramatically. The reputation is the go-to person, and for the buyers, when the sellers saw that, I actually got more listings. So, in any case, let's see. Daryl says thank you. All right, guys. I tell you what. It's after 8 Eastern, after 5 Pacific. Let's go ahead and hold this off for now. What I'll do on January 3rd is I want to do a special session on January 3rd to help you guys be prepared for the upcoming year in more of a state of mind way. So in other words, we're going to get back to content on the week. By the way, the week after that, it'll be Tuesday the 9th. Okay. We'll start talking about wholesaling, which has been a real hot topic lately. All right. We'll go into great detail. You can see what's possible for yourself. All right. But the first one, what I want to do is kind of set the stage for the year. I want you guys to raise the bar. Okay. And come out of the chute running. I have a lot of people say, well, I feel like, I'll just wait till after the holidays. Don't do that. Take the hour per week and study. So after the holidays, you can start marketing. Okay. And take advantage of one of the most important time frames of the year, which is January 1 through April 15th. In that 3-month and 15-day period, at least for in the States, a lot of people are determining their tax positions. They're trying to adjust their tax position by allocating, earmarking funds for certain purposes, like investing. Okay, if people are buying properties inside IRAs, and you can do this in the U.S. and Canada. In Canada, we don't call it an IRA, right? It's a predefined retirement plan. But you still can buy properties inside IRAs. People are trying to improve their tax position by purchasing properties in a lot of cases. So be in the game when the game's being played. Don't wait. You're going to miss opportunity. In any case, so get ready for January 3rd, guys. I'm going to prime you to be prepared for profit for the year in 2018, because I sure know I am, and I'm going to help you guys do it. I want you guys to be on board. By the way, we got some live events coming up in Florida in February and March. So there'll be more information to come on those. We're finally going to do it. So Fassel, David Evans, all you guys out there that have been patient, I appreciate your patience, and I'm looking forward to have you guys involved here because I want you to help me out. And whether you're in Canada or way on the West Coast, come on down to Florida, at least for one of those 3. We'll do 3 of them, 3-day events. And then in springtime, we'll come back out west and do some out there. And then later on, we'll go back up into Canada, do some up there, and in New England, up in Massachusetts, down in Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. So in any case, we figure we start in Florida in the winter months when everybody's cold and ready for a break from the snow and to get your toes in the sand. Okay, so keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, guys, most important of all, God bless each and every one of you and your families. I wish you a Merry Christmas to all of you. If you're celebrating Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or any other type of of expression of your beliefs. Do so to the fullest extent of your heart's ability. Don't suppress yourself. Express yourself. Okay. And I've gotten cards from all the different. I've studied the major. I mean, Buddhism, the Gita, the Quran, the Torah, of course, the um, uh, Christian Bible, and I've gotten celebratory cards from a number of different people with different beliefs, and I'm glad to get them. I love to get them. And I learned in the past, don't suppress your beliefs, express your beliefs. Okay, and usually people who are high-minded appreciate that. So in any case, God bless you all. Merry Christmas to all of you. Okay, I will be available. I don't have no webinar next week, no time slots for strategy calls next week. However, if you're stuck on something, you just ask the old timers will tell you you can call me. Okay, if you're stuck on something, call or text. I don't want you to lose a deal because you can't get a hold of me. All right, so texting's okay. All right, if you're stuck on something. In the meantime, enjoy your time with your families and your loved ones, and I will see you all after the holidays. Okay, God bless and take care. Bye-bye.